Hey friends, and welcome to Let's Find Out About It. So you all already know that this is a time where we talk about some of the topics from a book just a little further. So, can you all help me remember what book did we read today? Yes, you're right, we read Rabbits and Raindrops. You know friends, we're just so many weeks in, we've read so many books. Miss Khaleesi's just having some difficulties remembering which one we're on. But thank you for reminding me we're on Rabbits and Raindrops. I also saw that you all were able to help retell the stuff that happened in the story while you were reading. So not only did you remember what book we were reading, you remembered the plot and what was happening within our book. So let's start to talk about Rabbits and Raindrops just a little bit more, because this is a very interesting book, right? We read about a mom rabbit who really wanted to protect her baby rabbits. She did a lot to protect those baby rabbits, right friends? Yeah, she ran through a lot of raindrops, some dangerous raindrops to protect her baby. So, who remembers why the mom wanted to protect her babies from the rain? Yes, that is exactly why. The mom wanted to protect the babies because the fur on rabbits is not waterproof. I remember that we said fur is short, thick hairs that covers an animal's whole entire body. We talked about a lot of different animals that have fur. We have our rabbits right here that have fur. We talked about our mouse in this later book, in the later page. Where is our mouse, friends? We talked about our mouse right there that also has fur. Maybe you have some animals in your house with fur, like a dog or a cat. But we know this fur is not waterproof. What does waterproof mean? Who can tell me what waterproof means? Yeah, so when something is waterproof, it doesn't absorb or soak up water. It repels all of the water. So when something is waterproof, we see the water just roll right off. It doesn't even soak in. It doesn't get the thing wet. It rolls right off and it is smooth. But our rabbit's fur is not waterproof. So that means that it does soak up water, and it does absorb the water, and it does not repel it away. So if our babies are out there in the rain, their fur is going to soak all of that up. And the mom does not want that to happen, right? She wants her babies to stay protected. And as we can see on this page, our mom rabbit, she did a very good job of keeping the babies protected. She looked up, she noticed the change in weather. She saw how it went from a bright sunny day with clear skies to dark and gloomy with big fat raindrops dropping from the sky. So the mom said, okay rabbits, it is time to go inside. We need to find some protection. But once they eventually found protection, we see a lot of different animals under here with them, right? A lot of different animals and insects. We see our mom rabbit, all of the baby rabbits, and then over in this corner, we can see the mouse, our other furry friend that we talked about earlier. So, right here, it doesn't look like the mouse was able to find some protection, some shelter as fast as the other rabbits, does it? No. So friends, how does the mouse's fur look different right now than a rabbit's fur? Take a good look at this mouse's fur. Take a good look at this rabbit's fur. What is the main difference that you are seeing? Yes, we can see that this mouse is completely soaked. That means he is drenched in water. His fur has absorbed all this water. It's absorbed way too much. We can even see some dripping down from the mouse. He has a puddle of water under him. That mouse is completely soaked, friends. So this makes me think that the mouse may have got trapped in the showers, right? In the water outside as the rain was falling. And I know this because it absorbed all of the water in its fur. It didn't get away like the rabbits, and so it's been a longer time in the rabbits absorbing more and more rain. So let's think about how this mouse may feel, right? Let's imagine that you did not plan on getting wet, right? You're not going to the pool. You're not going to get in a shower. You got your clothes on. You're ready to be completely dry. Then all of a sudden, it storms. Your clothes are soaking wet. Your hair is soaking wet. You're drenched. You have a puddle of water under you just like the mouse. You're soaking wet. How might you feel in that situation? Yeah, I know I would feel very uncomfortable. I know first of all, it doesn't really feel good to be soaked unless you planned on jumping right into a pool, right? That's not something that we like to feel like. And then I know when you're wet, you can also get very cold. It can start to get chilly. You can feel the breeze of the wind, and it can just make you very cold. So I bet this mouse right here is feeling very uncomfortable. I know when someone is feeling uncomfortable, they're experiencing something that they don't like. It's a feeling that you don't really like. You feel a little weird. You wish you weren't in this situation, right? And when this mouse is soaking wet, drenched, his fur is dripping water, I bet he's super duper uncomfortable, right? No, but is this a feeling that's going to last forever for this mouse? Is this mouse always going to be soaking wet and drenched? No, right? The mouse will eventually dry. We know that fur will dry eventually, and that's because the water will evaporate. Now that's a bigger word, friends. Evaporate, that's a bigger word. Say it with me. Let's say evaporate. No, you said. Yes, so good job at practicing saying our word evaporate. And so evaporate means that the water from our fur, from our clothes, when we're drenched wet, it eventually dries, right? And when it dries, our water is leaving our clothes, leaving the mouse's fur, and it's going into the air. So over time, we start to dry off and the water travels to the air. And that is what we call evaporation. Our water is evaporating. So over time, that water on the rabbit's fur, excuse me, friends, the water on the mouse's fur will evaporate. And that mouse will eventually get dry. Now, humans, we have some tricks, we have some appliances, some tools that help us dry a lot faster than animals. What are some tools or things that you use to dry off? Let's say after you just washed your hair, you took a shower, what do you use to dry off? Yes, I know most of you probably said a towel, and that's what I use. I know there's a lot of different things that you can use, but let's think about it, right? We get out of the shower from washing our hair. We're completely drenched. We're soaking wet just like our mouse. And so we're dripping water. What? We take our towel and we put it on our hair, squish it around however you do it. Maybe you go really fast, maybe like to go slower. Make sure you get all the drops. And our towel is a special fabric that absorbs a whole lot of water. It picks up a lot of the water from our hair and traps it in the towel. So now we're not soaking wet anymore, right? Our hair is maybe still a little damp. There's still some water in it. So you can just let it air dry. Maybe eventually it'll evaporate just like our mouse. Or you can use another special appliance that animals don't have. This is another human trick. You can use a blow dryer. And so a blow dryer blows hot air. And this hot air makes the water evaporate a lot faster. So we still see our water coming from our hair into the air, but our blow dryer is just making it go a lot faster. So we can use a towel, we can use a blow dryer. There's a lot of different things that humans can use. Now, it gets a little rough for our animals out in the wild, right? Our animals in the forest, our animals in the woods. No matter what habitat these animals are in, it's a little more difficult because they don't have the appliances that we have. So I know the mom rabbit, she doesn't have towels for her babies, or she doesn't have an air dryer or hair dryer for their babies. And so all of the water that they get trapped on them, it has to evaporate. They have to wait, they have to sit and be uncomfortable and wait for that water to evaporate, and eventually they will dry. So friends, that is why our mom rabbit tried her best to get her babies protected. She knew it was going to be a long and cold process of trying to dry off. So she said, I'm going to be proactive. I'm going to fix the problem before it happens. We are going to run and find some shelter. Maybe the mom rabbit can start protecting the mouse so that the mouse won't get drenched anymore in the water. What do you think? I think that would be a really nice thing for the mom rabbit to do as well. Alright friends, I know you can't really see me. We're in a different location now. And that is because we traveled to my bathroom, right? And the whole reason we traveled to my bathroom is so that I can grab a washcloth and the sink. So we're going to do a little experiment experiment with this washcloth. We're going to see how a washcloth can absorb water, and maybe we'll see if the washcloth will repel. So let's find out what's going to happen with this washcloth. So first, I'm just going to spray it with some water. This will be like if the washcloth is outside getting hit with some raindrops. I'm not going to completely soak it, just spray it with some water. Let's turn the water on. Take this. Spray our washcloth. Alright, so you may not be able to see that well, but certain parts of my washcloth are now wet. They're damp. And so I think that this washcloth absorbed that water, right? It picked it up, it soaked it in. Instead of just repelling it and flowing right off, we can see that this washcloth absorbed the water. But now I'm going to completely submerge this washcloth. I'm going to get it soaking wet. I'm going to fill the sink with water and dump it in that water. But before I do that, based off of what you just saw when I sprayed this washcloth with a little bit of water, do you think the washcloth will absorb all of the water? Or do you think it will repel it and it won't absorb any water? So take a second. You think it'll absorb, pick it up just like fur, just like our clothes? Or do you think it'll repel just like a turtle shell or just like a raincoat? Okay, you had some time to think about that. Now keep that in the back of your head, right? I'm going to fill up some water. Let's fill this sink with water, friends. We're getting there. It's getting higher and higher. You can see that. Okay, that's not the best view. But as you can see, I have a whole bunch of water in my sink right now. And I am going to dump this washcloth in the water in the sink. Now remember, you either think it's going to absorb or repel. Let me put some more water in there. Will it absorb or repel? Let's submerge it. I am submerging it underwater. Okay. Let's pick this up, friends. I completely submerged it up. What is happening, friends? Did it absorb the water or did it repel the water? Yes, we can see that this washcloth picked up all of the water. It's a lot heavier now. It's drooping. We can even see that it's dripping some water, just like the mouse was when it was soaking wet. Now let's see how much water this washcloth absorbed. Let me wring this out. You ready, friends? Let's see how much water this washcloth absorbed. Ugh. Whoa, did you see that? So when I first had my washcloth, there was no water in it, right? It was completely dry. Then I asked you all, will it absorb or will it repel water? You all made your guesses. I dumped it in water, completely submerged it, picked it up, and we saw that our washcloth absorbed all of that water. It was so much water when we wrung it out, it just kept flowing and flowing. So we know that this washcloth is not waterproof. It is not waterproof. It is absorbent. If it was waterproof, when I wrung it out, nothing would have failed, right? Because it wouldn't have absorbed any water. We see that our washcloth did absorb all of the water just like the rabbit's fur or the mouse's fur. So now you're going to go do an activity. And after the activity, we'll come up and wrap up for Let's Find Out About It. But I will see you after, friends.
Will it absorb or will it repel with me, Miss Hannah?
Hello, friends. Today we will be playing Will It Repel or Will It Absorb? So I have an overhead camera on the items and we will take a look at what our items are today. So our first item is a paper towel. Our next item is a metal spoon. And then our next item is a kitchen cloth. And then our next item is a Ziploc baggie. And so we will go through all these items and see if it will absorb or will it repel water. So our first item is a spoon. So a spoon is metal and we use it to eat food. So what do you guys think the spoon will do? Will it absorb the water or will it repel the water? So have your guess in your mind. And I have my guess in my mind, and I think it will repel the water. So let's see if my guess and your guess is correct. So the spoon did repel the water. As you can see, there are water droplets on the spoon. And so that makes sense because we use spoons to eat soup and cereal, and if it absorbed the liquid, we would not be able to eat those things with it. So it makes sense that the spoon is able to repel water. Okay, our next item is the paper towel. And so a paper towel is made of almost like a cloth, and it's used in the kitchen to clean up things. And so I think it will absorb the water. And so you guys put your guess in your mind whether it absorbs or not, and we will test it out. So the paper towel did absorb the water. As you can see, it did not go through, which means that it absorbed. So that makes sense because you use it to clean up liquids in your house, and so it will absorb the water. So that would not be a good material to wear when it's pouring down rain, because then you're going to feel wet because it's absorbing it and then into your skin. So that is the paper towel. So the next item we have is the kitchen towel. And so now we are going to spray this and figure out if it absorbs or not. I think it will absorb. So you guys keep your guess in your head and we'll figure out if you are correct. Okay. So as you can see, there are no droplets and it absorbed into the kitchen towel. So it can absorb. And this makes sense because a lot of other cloths, as we saw with the paper towel, absorb as well. And so it makes sense that the fabric would absorb the water. And so, because you can think of those as almost like red rabbits and raindrops, and the bunny's fur was going to soak up all that water. So they would have been so wet if they couldn't find shelter. And so that's the same with this fabric. So then our last item is the Ziploc bag. And so we're going to see if it will repel the water. I think it will repel the water. So you guys have your guess in your head, and we'll see if you're correct. So the plastic bag did repel. As you can see, there are water droplets, and so that means it repelled. And so this is why so many like umbrellas and rain jackets and rain boots are made out of like plastic and rubber, is because they repel, and so the water will just sit there and not soak in. And so when you're looking for something that's waterproof, you want something that creates water droplets on its surface as opposed to soaking in, because if it soaks in, then you're going to get wet as well as your clothes. But if it's waterproof and repels, that means that you're not going to get wet. The clothes is just going to wet, but the water droplets aren't going to soak in. They're just going to sit on the surface. And so umbrellas are made of metal and plastic in order to keep you dry, because both of them don't soak in water.
Alright friends, welcome back from doing that activity with Miss Hannah. I saw that you were able to learn more about things. You were able to categorize items that either absorb or repel water. You did a good job with that. So, now before we move on to centers, I'm going to ask you to take all of that information you just learned, right? We just filled our brain with so much knowledge. I'm going to ask you to use that knowledge, okay? We want to solve some problems. Or you think you're prepared? Are you prepared to use that knowledge? Yeah? Okay. So let's see. I'm going to put up a picture of some animals. And what I want you to do is look at the coat or the covering of this animal. I want you to figure out if they have fur, skin, hair, shells, scales. Just look at the covering of that animal. And then, once you observe that covering, once you really look at it, I want you to figure out, will that animal absorb water? Will that covering pick up water like the fur or like the washcloth? Or will it repel water like the turtle shell? Will the water just bounce right off, roll right off? So, I have some pictures of some animals and you are just going to help me with this. Our first picture is the whale. Remember, you want to really look at the covering of this animal. Remember the habitat that this animal lives in. Where does this animal live? What does this covering require? All right. Were you able to think long enough? Does this animal absorb or repel water? All right. You are right. This covering will repel water. So the next animal we have is a dog. Remember, look at its covering. Think about other animals that have a similar covering. Really take a good look. You think a dog will absorb water, take in all the water, soak it up? Or will it repel it? Will it be waterproof and flow right off? Okay. I heard a lot of people say absorb, and you are right. Our dog has fur, so it'll absorb water just like our rabbits. The next animal we have is a snake. This may be a little scary one, but I want you to be brave. Okay, be brave, friends. Look at the covering of this snake. Is it going to absorb water or will it repel the water? Yep, good answer. So our snake has scales. It is a reptile, so it has scales. And I know that the scales on the snake will repel water. So if I heard you say repel, good job to you. Okay, our last animal is a bird. Look at the covering of this animal. We have not talked about feathers a lot, friends. So I'm going to need you to use your brains. I know you all have. Think really hard about this covering. Do you think this animal will absorb or repel water? Yes, you are right. The feathers on this bird will absorb water. Remember, we had our bird right here who was flying and trying to dodge the raindrops because they knew the feathers would get soaking wet if it got hit with too much rain. So, shout out to all of you, friends. You were really able to use that knowledge and apply it to this situation. I'm so proud of you. So let's do some claps. Some claps. All right. So that is all that we have for Let's Find Out About It today. And now it's time for, I know it's probably your favorite part, centers. We have some really cool centers planned out today, so I hope you enjoyed that. And I will see you later at Sharing and Goodbye.